Hello, dear friends. We start the lecture Sound, Audible Manifestation of Change. Let me introduce Gustavo. Gustavo Matamoros creates music, interdisciplinary art, and sound installation, primarily using sound recording in natural environments. He is also active as artist, director of sub-projects.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, thank you, Ekaterina. Yes. Okay, welcome to today's lecture. Like Katerina just said, well, actually, before I start, I wanted to say that it's Trimping, you know, the French and German composer who makes sound installations similar to the ones that are now made here, that says that, you know, live sound is preferable to recorded sound. And I tend to agree, except all of my work is recorded. And so I play with speakers quite a bit. And when not, then I play with acoustical instruments combined with electronics. So welcome to so thank you now, because I thought that your piece was going to be going during the during the lecture, and that would have been really nice. Anyway, but we'll do the best we can. So welcome to today's lecture. My name is Gustavo Matamoros. I am a sound artist living and working in Miami, Florida. I'm proud and honored to have been selected to give this presentation as guest artist of the CYFEST15. Today I will describe my approach to sound and explain the mindset that leads to the kind of experimental work that I've been doing for about 30 years. Many of my musical friends say, music speaks louder than words, music speaks for itself. Therefore, I'm going to try to make this presentation mostly focused on playback of audio samples, and hopefully less on words. Let's see how I do with that. So, because however, I do have a few things to say about music and sound art as a form of comparing notes, you know. So I hope this presentation will help bring about an enjoyable perspective on your experience of the sounds that have emerged from my experimental practice. So let me begin by showing you a video of a found sound that I captured in the Everglades National Park. This video shows what I mean by when I say sound is evidence of life. There's certainly life going on there. Some sounds we hear represent transformation, as exemplified in the next video of my piece, Sound Consumption from Music on a Budget. notice that when the flame dies out, sound continues in the dark. This sound describes the contraction of the wood as it cools off, evidence of a continued transformation. Next, I'll play two more pieces, one from 1971, illustrating the use of tape recorders, almost a decade before my schooling in music theory and composition, and another one from 1995, inspired by rudimentary experiments I made quite young with shortwave radios in the late 60s. So here is Dreams and Spirits. That too loud? These are all excerpts, by the way. The next is Untitled An Old Shoe. Wait, one second. This recording, of course, has been remastered. Dreams and Spirits is clearly inspired by the early experiences I had with radios. The radio we had at home resembles the one in the picture, complete with a volume control, a frequency dial, and a set of buttons that for tuning into stations from around the world. As for Untitled An Old Shoe, there is more to say about that. Back then, I had a cassette recorder equipped with microphones and a mechanical pause button. The recorded sounds are from explorations of inside of the piano that was at my house. I would create a sound with one hand and with the other capture a brief segment of it by pressing and releasing the pause button repeatedly, capturing one sound gesture after another. Uncovering sound's capacity to contain and deliver information is innate ability to faithfully depict reality and serve as evidence of change has ignited my artistic pursuit for decades. Rather than employing it solely as a means of self-expression, I now view sound as a powerful instrument to explore and comprehend its intrinsic qualities, its significance in our experience, and its remarkable potential to heighten our environmental awareness through the act of listening. Growing up in Venezuela, I had limited access to new ideas in sound and music, beyond the occasional records by progressive rock bands from the early 70s, namely Egg and Gentle Giant. Little did I know then that sound recordings I was making had intrinsic merit. As it turns out, I was experimenting in ways similar to the emerging discipline of sound art, which deserves attention. Sound art has its roots in music, and it's a discipline, it's a discipline in itself, and an extension of music. It approaches sound as an interdisciplinary medium and draws an ever-expanding circle that includes music, as well as other sound-related disciplines within a context that bridges art, science, and technology. That's my own thinking about that, because many people have different thoughts about what sound art is. As a child, I never imagined myself becoming a composer. My primary interest was in discovering new sounds, and I mostly kept my experiments, the experiments I conducted to myself. However, a decade or so later, I earned a degree in music composition from the University of Miami. Okay, so traditionally, music is an art form that intentionally uses organized sound to create expressive and meaningful patterns. It employs concepts such as melody, harmony, timbre, and rhythm to evoke emotions and convey ideas. Here's one of the most successful pieces I wrote while adhering to these principles. Again, an excerpt. Alongside the creation of Truly Yours, I had been cultivating an interest in developing strategies for reclaiming experimentation as a means of artistic production. These ideas were shaped through personal interactions with artists such as John Cage, Pauline Oliveros, Alison Knowles, Russell Freling, and Bob Gregory, whom I met in various ways. Inspired by these encounters, I went on to create pieces such as Sound Consumption from Music on a Budget, which you've already experienced on video format, and Swept Away, a piece that uses sound as a means for discovery. That's a piece for piano, and isn't it lovely how the sounds from the street kind of mix with this? That's why I do what I do. Anyway, going on, as humans we utilize sound in numerous ways. Today I would like to explore the notion of sound as a container of information and discuss 3 dimensions of perception that are encoded in every sound we hear. These are content, character, and context. Imagine a world without sound, a world where all we experience is silence. Through sound, we perceive and interpret the vast tapestry of life unfolding around us. Sound is a powerful medium that carries information and meaning. It has the ability to describe and represent the ever-changing phenomena that surround us. Through changes in frequency, content, and amplitude over time, sound captures a wealth of information about its source and the environment in which it exists. Consider the gentle rustling of leaves in a forest. The sound carries with it a description of the wind's movement, the density of the foliage, and the overall atmosphere of the surroundings. Similarly, the crashing of ocean waves conveys the vastness and power of the sea, providing us with a sonic description of its magnitude. Sound, as description, extends beyond the natural world. In human-made environments, like we're experiencing now, we encounter an array of sounds that inform us about our surroundings. from the bustling city streets, where the sounds of car horns, and I didn't know this was going to happen. And look at that. So I won't say that phrase. I continue to the quiet home of a library, right? That communicates an atmosphere of concentration and tranquility. Sound paints a vivid picture of our environment. Furthermore, sound can also mimic and replicate other sensory experiences. Think of the sound of a crackling fire, evoking warmth and coziness, or the rhythmic beats of a drum transporting us to distant cultures and traditions. Sound has the power to transcend physical boundaries and connect us to emotions, memories, and other abstract concepts. Yeah, 6. Now it's a good time to introduce the concept of the audible. It's the name that I give. It's like words in language. Audibles are units of meaning in descriptive sound. Here's 4 examples. The first one is southern screech owl. The next one is toadfish, which are recorded in Biscayne Bay. The next one are bats from the Everglades, which I have to transpose down several octaves so we can hear them. And the last one is the white-eyed vireo. Okay, so a musical idea applied to sound as description is the notion of a noise melody. A sequence of audibles strung together, like in Untitled and Old Shoe, where I strung together those piano sounds. I hear birdsong the same way, as a bunch of audibles strung together in the fast sequence. Here's the same wide-eye video we just heard, a bit more talkative 2 seconds later. But I most enjoy composing noise melodies using a variety of seemingly unrelated sound sources, and find that, in general, sounds have a tendency to get along. Let me show you a more eclectic example of a noise melody. This piece is called 85 Audible Moments for Pauline Oliveros. It was created for a project involving 84 other composers, curated by Ione, Pauline's partner, to celebrate the sadly not to be 85th birthday of Pauline's.
The accordion, a free reed instrument.
I think it's one later. We're not looking at the right. Okay. So the slide that corresponds with this sound is coming up next. Yeah. Would you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is the score to this piece. It's composed of 85 different audibles, and they're strung together like I described. And I think it's self-explanatory, but anyway, so we go on. So let's move to the next slide now. Okay, thank you. All right, so character. We've heard the sounds of birds, fish, bats, and burning matches. If I were to play this again, I bet you could identify them. But when I talk about character, I am referring to qualities of sound that make it possible to identify an individual among a community of a kind. So, in the next example, two wasps recorded inside their nest appear to be having a domestic argument. Perhaps one of you want to give it a shot to describe what is it that we heard. Any takers? Anyway, it's okay. We'll continue. So, like many people, I have a deep love for music, and what I enjoy most about music, guess what? It's the way it sounds. It isn't just the unique characteristics of the instruments, but also the distinct sound that defines individual musicians. One artist who left a lasting impression on me is the late sound poet Bob Gregory. I had the privilege of collaborating with him frequently in the late 90s. What made Bob's voice truly extraordinary to me was its haunting and unmistakable quality resulting from the damage to his vocal cords. He became the first subject of a series of sound portraits I embarked upon, using recorded interviews as the foundation for creating intricate soundscapes. These tapestries served as a backdrop for Bob to recite his poetry or for other musicians to perform their instruments, all intrinsically linked to the nuances of their speech patterns. Next is a sound